Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the next Wasteless World Talks with Bill and Kevin here again. And today we have a special topic. We need a definition. We need a definition of Onichemology, which, if you remember, was introduced last week. So it's 7 days and we are living without a definition. So it's hard for every academician, I'm sure. But let me ask you, Bill. I do not ask you what is Onichemology. You know it better than me, of course. But I do ask you, do you think that everything needs a definition?
Well, the definitions change. Depends on who you're talking to. It depends on what year it is. So I think in order to have communication between two people, there has to be a general agreement on the language and the words. But I would be hard pressed to say every word needs a definition.
That's great. And what about you, Kevin? Same opinion?
Yeah, I agree with Bill. I think that definitions change over time. What was bad can be good. And one of my favorite Russian quotes, the future is more unpredictable, or the past is more unpredictable than the future, is a nice way of illustrating this.
I like that.
This is why the Russian all the time we said in my country, it's a country where yesterday was tomorrow, or tomorrow was yesterday. I do not remember anymore. It's 30 years back, but it was so fascinating for everyone. And I do remember my visit in Moscow, and I was not one of the last, but I have seen Lenin in mausoleum, really physically. I was there. It's closed for a long time.
Yeah, I told you.
It was so strange feeling as he was looking at you all the time, walking around this. It was a very strange feeling. I don't know how was it with you. I was at that time something like 17, I think.
It's funny earlier today I've been spending almost the whole day researching the Checker, the Bolshevik secret police. And it's so interesting that during the early stages of the revolution, the Checker worked with Lenin and helped to bring him to power. So it's a really nice example of how quickly a definition can change from Lenin being someone useful to the Checker. Oh, sorry, yeah, no. I'm too tired. It was the other guys, the Okhrana, sorry, the Tsarist secret police, who worked closely with Lenin in Zurich and helped bring him to power. And their definition of Lenin changed quite dramatically.
What was your when you have been there, Bill, to see Lenin? It must be 80s, 90s.
It was in 2005, I think, or 6, and it's a very funny story, which I won't get into. But we did finally get in after trying for 3 days, but only because we bribed the guards with American money. You're not allowed to bribe with Russian rubles; it has to be American money. And so we got in, and you had to keep moving. I swear he moved. I swear he moved. Right? It was like there was a living person there in front of us.
Yes. As I said, it was a very unpleasant feeling. And then shortly after that, they close it, probably of your bribes. So they need to close it. He collected enough to move to Brazil, probably. Yeah. Generally, I was trying. I have an event about a definition today. I don't think the definition is needed, but if we speak about Onichemology as a, let's say, field, it's not a field of science or something like that. It's a field of whatever, learning maybe. The people somehow feel that they need some definitions. And you know, I sent you today in the morning the article, my article translated by ChatGPT into academic language. And when I saw it, I think the result was academic. I will not say good, it was academic result. I don't know whether you notice one crazy thing. It's all about Industry 5.0. It's mentioning about myself, about the origin, about the date, about the article. Everything is right. But if you look at the reference list, any reference to my work is missing because it's not official. You know, it's out, it's in the gray zone when the ChatGPT was not allowed to go. It's a crazy part. And we have, and we discussed it shortly before, we have developed a tool which usually is being used, let's say, for researchers, but as well to write something. But the editor uses it to rewrite my article, which I use it completely different way. I never intended to be used this way, but it was so interesting. And here we are at the definition, what should be ChatGPT about. And I'm not sure if you can hear me, but seems like
people do need a.
Okay, it was shortly frozen. It's fine right now.
We do need a definition because we need people to use the word. And we need people to be able to communicate about it. So there needs to be some sort of general agreement as to what it encompasses. How about this? This word is an approach to it's. I think it's almost a science, because how many people can do what we're doing right now? It's sort of learned, but it's sort of something that we intuit needs to be done. In order to explore an issue, we need to take down the barriers. We need to understand the assumptions, take down the barriers, and talk without worrying about whether or not I sound stupid, which I know I do sometimes, or long-winded or whatever. But it's more an approach to learning. What would you think about that,
Kevin?
Yeah, I think that one of the definitions of ChatGPT, which should be changed, is intelligence. It's not intelligent. It is a very, very, very smart cut and paste machine. That's what it does. It doesn't understand what it's doing. It just does it quite well. But to give it a word like intelligence implies that it knows what it's doing, and it doesn't. And if you think it knows what it's doing, then you will make mistakes along with it. And I think that we need this filter in our heads, not to accept what ChatGPT does as intelligent or as finished or as correct. We need to still be able to do that ourselves.
It is interesting what you said. I just read you how I define in my article, which is about this talk. I define it as a dance of life hidden in a single rice grain. That's my current definition of Onichemology. And you know what? I was really not feeling well about the article, not about the content, but about the title. There is, the first line says, our author, Michael Rada, founder Industry 5.0 and OpenAI ChatGPT. I do not agree with this line, because author can be, there can be more authors, of course, but ChatGPT was not the author. It was the translation machine, or I don't know how to call it, not an intelligent being who writes the article. They just rewrite. So something like that. It was rewritten by ChatGPT for academic purposes. That I will agree, but not to be at ChatGPT. I never use it, and I hope I will not be ever using it. Despite the fact it will help, for example, the to translate, for example, the Industry 5.0 definition, which was for so long rejected by Wikipedia. I am almost sure if someone used ChatGPT, translate it in this language, and post it there, because not my IP address is known, but post it there, it will be probably accepted by Wikipedia. Especially if you ask, write it the way to be accepted by Wikipedia. Will be crazy. Because not a single human was able to put it there. We tried several times from different countries. Every time Industry 5.0 is deleted, everything what is about it. So it's quite crazy. Maybe we will try.
But if I was you, I would consider the fact that Wikipedia won't accept it as a badge of honor.
I am not sure. Not sure.
I don't think Wikipedia is quite the pure source of knowledge that they like us to think it is.
Would be happy if so.
It's a convenient haystack of knowledge, some true, some not true, but it's like going to the library and spending the afternoon in the library. There's lots of information here. How you put it together is up to you.
You named the right word, convenience. This is exactly what makes us dependent on these tools, and the content is different there. But okay, I think we answered already what is the definition. There is no definition needed, and you describe it quite well, Bill. So I think that's quite interesting. And I think this is, the Onichemology is really some sort of science doing generally what Industry 5.0 does in the industries. So is across all of them, because nothing is the groundstone of Onichemology, then nothing is in every science and research and academic work. So it can connect.
I love your definition of a dance of life hidden in a grain of rice. It's so poetic and exactly expresses my concept of the word.
Happy to hear. So how far are you with your book, Bill?
So you and I had this conversation about 6 or 9 months ago, and it's so hard to say when you're writing. You both know that that some thoughts, some complete thoughts, can be put down in an hour or in an evening, especially if you have a glass of wine with you. But some need to be constructed, and especially in virgin territory, for me anyhow, the wasteless world is, up until a couple of years ago, was absolutely virgin territory. So I've had to approach it from several different angles, and in short, it's going well. To put a date on it with any precision, I would just be lying. It's not going to be done next month. It certainly will be done within a year. Although I've got another book that I started in the year 2011, and it's not done yet. So,
what about you, Kevin? You are writing not only book, you are movies. Movies will be made based on your books. So
yeah, all 3 books will be made into movies. I won't have anything to do with that. I think that I was even told that writers aren't welcome on the sets. So I know my place in the process. But I'm working on 2 new projects. One is a book about greed, set in 1918, 1919, and follows the greed of men and the greed of the Spanish lady, the Spanish influenza. And then I'm actually working on a film as well, which is also not so much about greed, but about waste. and that's based in the 1960s. But I think that the interesting thing about writing about human traits that are not that attractive is so much more interesting than writing about positive aspects of human nature.
I couldn't agree with you more. One of my main characters in the book that I've been working on so long is an assassin. His daughter is also an assassin. And the challenge is to make them likable, which hopefully I've accomplished.
If you speak about it, one of the best movies, Leon, about assassin who educate another assassin. It was generally the main character. He is so great in every role generally, but it is so human, the approach, that I am really fascinating by the work of the movie makers. I know that many books which transfer into movies went horrible because I have my imagination, they have their imagination. The result is horrible. One of the closest, which was how it's called in English. It's about the fire in a skyscraper. It was a famous movie, 80s, 70s, something like that. I do not remember the name right now. But there, the book, which I read first, was almost exactly as the movie. That was so great. But it's one of the few, I have to say.
Early in my sales career, I was taught that there are only two forces that drive man's decisions. One is greed and the other is fear. And in fact, on Wall Street now, there is a greed-fear continuum, and the needle keeps moving, and then next month, but anyhow, greed and fear are the only two reasons anybody buys anything or does anything.
And it's such a gorgeous motivator because we all can fall victim of it one way or another.
It is quite interesting because, you know, when I spoke today at the noontime about a definition of Onichemology, one of the members who joined me on stage, she said she does not understand. So I explain again, and at the end she said it's very deep thought. And I said, yes, you cannot expect easy questions from my Karada. And but it was so interesting because you see life, the development of a person, you know, the wake up of a person, and it's almost omnipresent. So I am really looking forward to use all the tools which are available to spread the message, the books, the movies, all, because it must reach everyone. I think this is why the giants fear so much. And currently I have seen that some of the giants even step down and start to contribute to Industry 5.0 in some way or the others. And it was even, I was surprised by a few sentences out of the translation, where especially one where was written generally that European Commission acknowledge that they break the author rights or something like that. I have to find it because I did not find this official statement. But it was said at the same time, and I have read about it several times, that the ChatGPT, if it does not know the answer, it just came with some answer which is nowhere to be found. So I am really looking forward whether I will discover this.
Yeah, I heard that they were putting in a new piece of something into ChatGPT to stop it telling lies. Which is such a shame because it removes one of the few human traits that it actually has.
When I read first that it make more and more mistakes, it was, I think, discovered by the German scientist by Fraunhofer or somewhere there. My first thought was it become more human. That was my first thought. that it learned that humans are not perfect, so I will not deliver perfect result. But they said, no, it's a code mistake or whatever. I do not understand what they talk about. Interesting. So is there anything what we have not discussed in this almost 1 year of our discussion? I think there are very few things.
Oh no, Michael. We haven't scratched the surface.
This is for me the empty page, which is the right challenge.
This is. Have we talked about language and communication yet?
Yes.
Have we talked about patriotism yet?
We mentioned, not aimed stuff. But I know there is a lot of, but.
Or love or family?
I think these two has not been there. And they are so important.
I was talking with a friend who left the Soviet Union, left Russia maybe 10 years ago, and currently is a consultant. Oh gosh, I forget where she set up her home. And she helps other immigrants to understand what what the Western life is like and how to get by, and which I think is wonderfully unique and needed. But at any rate, she said, I'm conflicted. She said I'm conflicted because I always thought of myself as a loyal person and a patriot. And now I have so many thoughts that are against what Russia is doing in a number of different ways. And so I'm questioning the whole, my self-concept of being a patriot. So what is a patriot? And she started me thinking too. That's the interesting part about Onichemology, is that every time you go down a path, you come to multiple doors, and no matter which door you choose, there's another path and another multiple doors. And after an hour, you have touched on so many human questions.
That's beautiful. Can you imagine to write together with me really the first book, the introduction to, because I don't think that the Onichemology needs to have a lectures or books. It just needs the introduction. Exactly these doors, I already imagine as a GIF image or as a short movie called Onichemology. You enter the door, there are 2 more. You enter it, there are 4 more, 6 more. And behind every door, some great thoughts which you can think about. Something which you can see in a different perspective, a different mirror. I just spoke day before yesterday with one of the principals of a school which was interested in Industry 5.0, and it came to an idea that I said to him, don't you want to install in a school a place where every child, every student can see who is responsible for the future? And she said, oh, it will be too expensive. We cannot have all the presidents and Elon Musks on the walls. And I said, no, you did not understood. Just make a wooden frame with a door and put a mirror in there. And on there will be written, this person is responsible for your future. She liked the idea. So I hope the first school will be there. And I think it's not just the school. Everybody probably should have it at home with the right message.
especially everybody that has children. And when we have this chat on Wednesday mornings, that's exactly what we are doing. We are creating the future. The three of us are creating the future, or certain aspects of it. And if we write a book about Onichemology, did I pronounce that right, Michael?
Yes, yes. You are with every pronunciation better.
If we write that book, how do we keep it readable without getting either so deep or so tutorial or academic? Or how do we do that so that someone says, "Can't put that book down. I just keep reading," right?
I
And
will.
and one of the ideas that comes to mind for that is we have each of us had experiences where we are in a group of people, 2 people or 10 people or whatever, and the thoughts keep one thought triggers another thought over there, which triggers another thought over there, and really that's what onichemology is. It is putting multiple brains without the fear or the greed, putting them into one room and toss a subject into the middle of them, right? And so I'm thinking that the book, if there ever is a book, maybe should be a series of examples of where it's been put in practice, because people respond to um, real life stories, and if the real life stories are fabricated in such a way that they reinforce each other, not by a plot line or anything like that, but by the definition of onichemology. Um, and you, I'm sure, in your lectures, and Kevin, you, I'm sure, in your in your experiences, have been in exactly that position. And when I say that, I'm thinking of the one um, that I will never forget. It's the first time that I led a company's strategic planning team, which we went to great pains to select carefully so that it was diverse. And we met, and we had given them an assumption, an assignment to plug into future sources, such as I gave them a list of websites and newsletters and blogs and so on. And their assignment was to choose 3 or more and bring something that you read in to discuss next week. And that next week was just amazing, the way that someone said, I read this very interesting thing about how autonomous vehicles will be able to do this. And somebody across the room says, yes, and that's because AI is now able to do, and each of the 10 people, they all participated. And I just sat back, because that was onichemology at work. And I called it, at the time, it's like watching popcorn pop, because it's here and it's here and it's here and it's here and it's here. And what we had in the end was nothing precise. Uh, leave precision at the door. But what it was you really could see the trends and how the trends intersected. And so that, to me, is what onichemology means, and why it's so necessary for anybody who hopes to envision the future, or run a company, or have a family, or almost any situation needs to be able to see where these trends are headed.
I think, building on from that, though, it could be really essential to make sure that onichemology cannot be taken by governments, by companies, by institutions, but keep it open. But then the promise is that you get it for free. and you post your results back.
Right.
So you
Right.
give back to keep the process going.
Well, and you know, you talk about the theory of constraints. That is one of the biggest dangers, because that's what we do with the environment, right? All natural, all organic, and so on. And it turns into greenwashing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what will happen. But not at first. Only after it begins to attract followers, and it begins to be used as a good thing and something that everybody wants to help move along. Then they'll try to Shanghai that.
Yeah.
You ask at the beginning, you ask how to make the book about onichemology to be interesting. You know, you will have one page. Kevin will have one page, no more. But I imagine, you know, as this electronic digital paper, you read a story on this one page, story by Bill or Kevin or me or someone else. And you turn the page, and there you can write yourself, or you can click the button, and you will be connected with Kevin to discuss what you really have. You know, this interactive, what we are speaking about, so to put there the interactivity, you know, because I imagine that for one story written, there will be 10 blank pages to write my part. And the best will be not, you know, when I finish this book, I will buy the second edition and I will hand this co-written, co-authored book to my child or to someone, you know, because there will be the professional part and my part. And I have never seen something like that, that the reader is being the co-author. I never seen anything like that to be in a real world applied. No, it's not true. It's not true. I am lying at the moment, and sorry for that, because I have it even in my library. Small book for children. You read a story, the story ends, and you can choose one of 3 ways how it will continue. And there is all the time, you can skip the page and continue on the way how 1 or 2 or 3. So it was something like an interactive book for a child, where you can have a different ways how it was done. I have to find it, but I can imagine something like that, with the difference it will be not written by author or authors, but the reader will write the rest. It will be so beautiful, you know, if we get copies out of it and we can read it even. Immediately imagine this, you know, it will be every single day. First, what I will have a look at will be these new entries, which will enrich us. You know, right now I do this newsletter 1 year already, 1 year we pass. And I spent so many hours by writing it and copying fake to show how really the people behave. Just to tell you, we have 5 more minutes left.
I have an interesting story about a story, and that is our human story written as DNA. A few years ago, a company decided that they would copyright DNA, meaning that if you wanted to do any work on human genetics, you would have to pay them because they own our DNA. And this was immediately seen as an extremely bad idea. And I don't know if it was Oxford University or Cambridge University who had already written most of our DNA down. They immediately published everything they had for free use for everybody, making sure that our human story can never be owned by a private company or by a giant.
Great step. Great step. You know, you remember for sure it was in 1990 somewhere there was the moon surface was sold to private individuals. You can buy 1 meter of moon or a few centimeters. Even Mars, I think, is already sold all the entire space. I just wonder what the people who bought the south pole of the moon, whether they charge right now the Indian government to land there. I'm not sure. Have to ask Prime Minister Modi probably if he knows about it. So
he can always say, "We've left the cash behind us. Come and get it."
Yeah.
not bad. It was so interesting again. So interesting. And I really like the vision of Onichemology, which you put really much more clear to me. That was so helpful. I don't think we need definition. We need to write it. Simple. Let's do it. Let's make one after the another. You know, I have so many, I have 25 Onichemos already. You two, with you two, they are 27, with me 28. Within 2 months. 28 people which can contribute, which can write one story. And I don't even think it must be in English only. It can be in any language, you know. It's just, let's do it.
I'll bet you can hook up to Google Translate, and on this page that you're talking about, I'll bet you there's a button that you can hit that will translate it, the entire story, to a different language. That's when you talk about interactive, and we can do that now. We have I would think we have the ability to do that.
Of course. The tools are here. The technology is here. We are here. We are the content makers. So we are here. There is no reason why not to. You know, maybe it will not have the form. Maybe it will not be the pages. But, you know, everybody has a computer today. So everybody has a mobile phone. So if you do it in a form which will be readable on a mobile phone, we have it already. Will be nice. Will be nice.
Let's figure out a way to do that.
We will.
If we each write our stories, how long is that? How long is that story? Is it 300 words, like one page, or
one page? One page.
So it's 300 words.
I can't say. So we have a shorter words in here. You know, it can be. I can imagine that someone will write on his page or her page only one word, and it will deliver more than full book of words. It just depends. It can be even a picture. But you know what? We are at the end. So 1 minute left. Any thoughts?
That book would be attractive for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is that it's an entirely new form of book that people will want to experience without even caring what Onichemology is, right?
How is in English name this words which are hard to pronounce? Tongue breakers or?
I don't know.
I know
there is a word.
Just a word about it.
If it's a sentence, it would be a tongue twister.
Tongue twisters. Yeah. Tongue twister. Exactly. We have many in Czech language. So we have less than 1 minute. Thank you very much, Bill, Kevin. It was really a great time with you again. And let me wish all of you have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, and expect the first Onichemology book soon. And be human. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye-bye.